What time is it? It's time for another Every Other Wednesday.
Shall we start? We shall start. Welcome, everybody. It is Every Other Wednesday. It is April 19th, 2023. Say hello, Sanjay.
Hello, Sanjay.
Hello, Sanjay.
Hello. Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully this will be of value, both personally and professionally and socially and mentally and emotionally and all that other kind of stuff.
What about grammatically? Will it be helpful grammatically?
No, not from me.
No.
I tend to verbize nouns and nounize verbs all the time.
And make up words.
I'm a big fan of it. My name is Sanjay Nath. I am coming to you from Oakville, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. And I am an author and speaker specializing on leadership and performance. Mr. Kerr.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Kerr. I'm coming to you from my usual world headquarters location in spectacular Canmore, Alberta, where it is snowing right now. I write, research, and speak about inspiring workplace cultures and humor in the workplace. And today is, what did we decide it is? It's Wednesday, April 19th. I can't believe that. It is official Banana Day, Bicycle Day, Hanging Out Day. So thanks everyone for hanging out with us. Garlic Day and Poker Day. Let me double check. Okay, it's not poker, it's poker, as in the card games.
Not poke him either, because we wouldn't want to be sexist. So
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, I think that if it's Garlic Day, we should also have a Vampire Day. And if it was the same day, it would be like Clash of the Titans. It'd be really cool.
I know, right?
I also had this other thought too, which is completely random, but because there's the two screens, am I on your left or on your right?
You were on my left.
I'm on your left. So if I do this, I'm facing you. If you turn and do the same thing, you're facing me. It looks like we're having a conversation.
Not if, no, I have to go this way. Yes,
Oh, then
but
that's
I can't look at you.
But for some of the people, no, but if you look at now,
That would
now
be funny to try and do it
having a
this whole way
conversation
like
with you.
this, have a conversation like this. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, that was totally not worth it. All right. What are we doing here? I'm back.
Well, we're going to keep it. First of all, we're missing our colleagues Jeff Tobe and is it Toby
to be Jeff to be.
And is it Jeff or is it? I don't know. I think
when he shows
pronounces
up,
it.
his attendance is like almost like my grade 10 going to science. It's just not good.
So we're missing two of our regulars, Richard Haddon and Jeff Tobe. They'll be back with us at some point. So it's just us, which is great news for.
And by the way, since there was a guest, let's just say, because I know there are a lot of regulars here, but the idea is we get together. The four of us were started off as a mastermind group. We've all been professional speakers in the industry for at least 25 years. And all of us fall under the umbrella of organizational culture in one form or another. Stop making eyes at me, Michael. And so what we did was during the pandemic, we kind of got together on Zoom calls every other Wednesday to talk about different cultural issues. And that's where this thing is kind of morphed from. So we want to say welcome and thank you for taking the time, and hopefully 45 minutes or 39 minutes from now, you'll leave going, that was a good use of 45 minutes and it got some neat and interesting and inspiring ideas.
There you go. There you go. If we just keep, we can kill the whole 45 minutes saying nothing. If we just keep.
We absolutely, well, and again, let's repeat the joke because it's worth repeating because now there are way more people on. So if you were one of the first few people on the call, this was Michael's brilliant brainchild. He said, "Hey Sanjay, when I flip the switch, just pretend like our cameras are frozen." So we just stood there and did this for like the first 30 seconds.
Hours of entertainment.
It was.
We should probably get to some content.
Yeah,
we're going to be losing viewers by the dozens. So we're going to keep it really casual. In fact, we're going to dedicate probably half-ish of the show of the program to your questions. We haven't had to ask us anything in a while, so think about what questions or topics top of mind for you that we could dive into. But we're going to start on kind of a little bit of a niche topic, a side topic that's come up recently in my world a few times, as organizations are so many of my clients struggling to hire employees, to attract employees, to onboard employees, to get the right employees. And so we wanted to talk about, from a cultural point of view, this notion of all of your employees playing a role in that. How, if you're going to be really effective, and this is certainly what I've seen in my research and I talk about in my book, Hire, Inspire, and Fuel Their Fire, available at all fine bookstores, not really, mostly just Amazon, that companies that are really successful at attracting not just more employees, but better qualified employees for them, and that means something different for everyone, of course, do a really good job at involving all of their employees in the recruitment process. They don't just leave it up to HR. They don't just leave it up to the specific managers. Everybody plays a role in that. Do you agree that's a good idea, Sanjay?
1 bazillion%. It's not up to Indeed to find us the people. And don't get me wrong, these services like the Workopolises and the Indeeds, and they help us find, qualified candidates for sure, but it is one small facet of a way bigger picture. And if you want to go really universal, the idea of creating a workplace, an environment, and organizational culture where people want to go to work rather than have to go to work, where they get to go to work, is one of the biggest things you can do. And even if you don't have a formal process for going, hey, do you have a friend that may, want to work here? If you have an environment where people go home at the end of the day, or they go to the poker game because it's poker day, or they go to the hair salon, or they go to the Tupperware party, and they are talking about work, and they go, and their shoulders drop, and they can have a conversation with their neighbor and go, oh, I love it at work because of this. In effect, what you're doing is that is a recruitment strategy right there.
For sure. And that's my starting point always, Sanjay, right? Is that, have you created the kind of workplace where your employees are ambassadors for your company, where they would recommend you to their best friend or a family member? Because we get that question all the time, right? It's often the first question. You're at a party, you're at a dinner party with friends. How's work going? And how do you respond to that? And how do your employees respond to that? Because that sends out waves throughout your community. Do you want to be known as a place that's great to work? People talk. And so that, just as a baseline level, I think that's always a goal we should shoot for, and recognize there's a chicken and egg relationship here too, right, Sanjay? We have to build a great workplace culture to attract better employees, and then we become the hunted too, right? You see organizations that are known for their phenomenal culture, they don't have to worry about tight labor markets because people will move to come and work with them.
Absolutely.
So we want to build a great workplace culture to attract better employees, but the chicken and egg part here is we also want to hire, recruit great employees to help us build a better workplace culture.
100%. And this is, it's not a shortage of workers. There may be a shortage of workers for you, but the workforce is more than large enough to fill your company. Now, not necessarily fill every company, but as long as you create an environment and a culture where people want to work, again, people will be beating down the door to want to come and join you. I was going to say, so I've mentioned this a handful of times in the past. I own 7 FedEx routes. And as part of that, I have a fleet of about a dozen trucks and about 15 people on my team. And I'm in this market, in this industry we're in, the economy we're in, and in the industry in which I'm in, which is the drivers. As you can imagine, it's hard to find drivers. It's hard to keep drivers. It's hard to compensate them. It's hard to have an organizational culture, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to say this is a bit of a, pride thing, but a lot of a luck thing too. But a lot of the stuff that we talk about here implemented. So since last summer, and it's April now, so what does that make it? 9 months, 10 months. I've had 0 turnover in my staff. No hires, no fires, no quits, no nothing in the last 9 or 10 months. We've gone through a peak of Christmas where the volume almost doubled to now in these recessionary numbers, and we've had 0 turnover. And I think a lot of that has to do with, it has to do with putting the team together and being respectful. And a lot of the things we've talked about here, open communication, people have the right to speak, hearing concerns, like all of that stuff. So I think that is so fundamentally important. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, they've all met you?
I don't have that many nephews. That's it. But I tell you, my mom can drive truck like no one. So
yeah. So let's get into some specific strategies. Early on, Sanjay, you said even if you don't haven't had an official referral program. But don't you think that's a good idea? I think at the minimum, every organization needs to constantly send a message to all of their employees. We want you to be ambassadors for the company. We want you to be on the lookout for new employees, for great talent that is going to help us succeed, that is going to help us not just fit our culture, but grow our culture. And I think, and it amazes me that we don't do this in companies. Every time you have job openings, I think all of your employees should be informed first and foremost. Hey, here are the openings. Here's what we're looking for. Here's the qualifications of people we are looking for. They're your best recruitment sales force right there within your own organization. So utilize them.
For sure. And I also think, I believe in proactive recruitment as well. Depending on the size of your organization, I mean, it's way easier when you have a very large company, but if you only have 4 people in your group, it becomes much more difficult. But a good, well-run company will always take good people, even if they don't need them. And so what I'm saying is if you have an employee and he or she is fantastic, they just seem to really fit the realm in which they're working well, it's always helpful to have a conversation with them that says something like this: hey, do you have a brother or sister? Right? Who are the people you hang out with? Would they benefit from being here? Because you want to get those people proactively rather than reactively, because when you're being reactive, you needed them yesterday. It's like getting money from the bank, right? When times are tough, it's really, really hard to get money from the bank. And when times are good, you don't need it, but that's when you want to be doing it and planting those seeds so that when you need to, you can actually, grab the fruit, harvest the fruit.
Right. And I think, I think everybody, and include not just your employees, your suppliers, your partners, anybody you come in contact with can be a potential referral for you for employees. And I think you should have referral cards that you give out to send the message that it is this important to you. I know in my book, I write about the company Mindvalley and how they stopped spending their recruitment money on those online places where they can post ads. They find now the best bang for the buck that they get is to hold a big Halloween party, which sounds a little goofy, but was already a big part of their tradition. They have a very fun culture. But here's what they do. They say to all their employees, here are 2 extra tickets. Please bring to our party 2 people who you think are brilliant, who would be brilliant, talented additions to our workplace. And that's how they recruit people and how they immerse them in their culture in a fun way right away.
The other thing too is, offering compensation, and again, depending on the structure and the history of what your organization normally does. But if your organization traditionally uses recruitment firms, and recruitment firms are not cheap, right? You're often looking at whatever it's a year's salary to bring someone in. And so if all of a sudden you go to your people and they know the organization and they know the culture, and you say to them, look, I'm going to take a fraction of what I would have spent with a recruitment firm, and I'm going to say, hey, you bring in a qualified person and we hire them and they last for 6 months, we're going to give you 10% of their salary, or whatever it is. It's a great bonus for that person, right? And if they're, especially too, if it's an employee who you would consider to be a superstar within your organization, they know what it's about. They're more likely, and they're going to have a higher success rate of bringing in the right person than a recruitment firm that knows nothing about your organization.
Right. And presumably somebody who you want to work with. And Carol mentions this in the chat, how some companies, pay bonuses, and maybe it doesn't even have to, I've seen this too, doesn't have to be necessarily a financial bonus, but different perks, different fun ways of recognizing people who do bring in people for you. The other strategy I think that's really helpful is to involve, and you should do this anyways, but involve as many of your employees in the onboarding process as possible. Get them involved in doing some of the training, some of the mentorship, and showing people around. Have a 6-month long employee, so somebody who's relatively new in your company, be part of your onboarding process, so that new employees hear from somebody who's not a 10-year veteran, but somebody who's relatively new, who can share their experience of what it was like in the first few months and what helped them out. And there's all sorts of ways that you can involve a lot of people in your onboarding process. And then that gives them a greater sense of understanding, of ownership of the entire process. And I think that just helps turn them into culture champions and culture recruiters.
Okay, we got all kinds of stuff here going on.
I know.
So Stephen Rayfield, it's going way up top here. It says, outside of HR, what 3 things should others do in the interview process as part of the recruitment process?
What do you mean by that question?
What 3 things should others do in the interview process?
I get the 3 things part, Sanjay. I'm
I know. I'm trying to read it. Back off. It's the shirt. It's distracting.
Stephen, what do you mean by that? Can you clarify? And Lisa's asking about strategies for hiring seasonal employees. Our season from end of April until mid-September.
So I mean, what jumps into my head immediately for that particular season is, I mean, obviously you're recruiting a lot on students. So I kind of go, how do you line up the needs with the wants and the availability, right? It's an economics thing. It's supply demand. So are you targeting, colleges, universities? Are you putting up ads on their websites on I don't know if they still do it, if they actually still have physical paper and stuff on the at some of these job centers. But that would be one of the things that I would absolutely be looking at is the availability, and those guys are looking for something. Michael, anything on that?
Yeah, no, I think that was my first thought too, was a lot of those jobs they're targeting students, like you said. So it's a matter of.
But again, I would add to that and say that if you have a student, kind of go, do you have a buddy? Do you have a brother? Do you have a sister?
Sure. Yeah.
Or go to your current employees and go, do you have a nephew? Do you have a child? Do you have an uncle? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Go to where you already have some sort of strength, and then how do we empower that more so?
Totally. And it should start on day one with your new hires. Tell them right away, hey, we're always interested in hiring great people like yourself. So let us know who you know in your circle. And we also have to talk about, I think, the flip side of this, because I am astounded at how people who don't get hired on but go through the interview process, how sometimes they're not treated very well. And what do we think those people are saying when they're out there again, back in the community, talking to their hairstylist, talking to their family and friends at dinner parties? What are they saying about you? So that's a really good, way to dampen your recruitment efforts. So make sure even the folks that you do not hire but go through the process, treat them well, treat them with respect. Make them, and encourage them, support them, even though they weren't a right fit for you. Make sure that you are leaving them with a great sense of your culture.
And piggyback on that, not only if you don't bring them on now, it could also be a timing issue. And so if you burn that bridge, a month from now, 6 months from now, 6 years from now, when you may need or may want to reach out to that person, or maybe the skill set wasn't lined up with that particular function you're looking at, but you keep the Rolodex, the mental Rolodex or the computer Rolodex going, that if you want to reach back out to that person, you want them to say, hey, even though it didn't work out, I had a good feeling from those people, and I would be happy to be part of that team.
Exactly. And another way, so Stephen was asking about just ways employees can get involved in the recruitment process, and we've offered a few, I think, but I think too, just the more you can, I think you have to champion your culture way more than what we do. Sell your culture on your website, fun videos of the day in the life of you, the 12.5 top reasons why you should come and work with us, fun bio photos of the team, and get to know the team that you're going to be working with. I'm going to come work for your team. Hey, isn't this cool? I get to see everybody's face. I learn a little bit about them, what their personal interests are. I'm excited now to work there. And by including that information, if you create some fun videos in your workplace, then that's another way of involving more people in your recruitment process. Tell them we need this. We want to send some fun vibes out to folks that we're trying to attract and recruit into our company. So do you have any ideas? Help us be part of this video. Do some fun stuff, but put it on your website. And also, by the way, put on your website, be really clear about this, what you are not looking for. Disqualify people. Say, hey, here's the kind of folks we're looking for, and here's the kind of folks we're not looking for.
And that's a great point, is that what you're not looking for there's nothing wrong with saying, like, sometimes people go, oh, that's not professional. In fact, I actually think that COVID, that's one of the biggest gifts that COVID gave us. It gave us the opportunity to professionally accept people not being professional.
Yeah.
What do I mean by that, right? People are on Zoom calls and a cat walks across the keyboard. And before people used to be embarrassed and, oh my goodness, and now everyone kind of chuckles because we can appreciate that. So going back to your point on the website, can you have a section called a typical day, not a typical day in the life of working here? And you have these little silly things or these outtakes or people kind of going, wow, that looks like a fun place, or I could see myself being part of that, or I would laugh there, or I would feel welcome there. It's huge. Elaine pointed out too that they actually have a tier system for compensation for rewarding people for bringing in employees. So they get something up front and they get a bigger payout after 90 days. And if they're still with them after 6 months, they get the whole entire company, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and recognizing those milestones for new employees, I think too, is so critical. Absolutely. And in that period too, I'm a huge fan of this. Between the time you decide to go with a candidate, you've selected these folks, they've gotten the great news, and when they start, and sometimes that can be pretty quick, but sometimes it's not always that quick. Maybe it can be a month, it can be a couple months even in certain cases, depending on the position. Use that time strategically. Make sure you're starting to educate those new recruits about your culture. Send them some, a recommended reading list. Send them a fun welcome gift and card from the teammates that they're going to be working with. Fun. But I mean, it takes 1 minute to pull out your iPhone and shoot just a fun video from your team, welcoming them by name before they've, hey, we're looking so forward to meeting you a month from now, Susan. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love working here. And go around and everyone introduces themselves quickly. But there's so many ways of making sure you're using that time effectively, and then making sure that when they do start on day one, that it's not, we've got 4 hours of paperwork we'd like you to fill out. Like, make sure it's a strong start on day one, that you are truly welcoming them, giving them the sense of belonging. Start off with a bang so they don't have buyer's remorse.
Very nice. And again, to that point is the idea of making people feel welcome. And one of the, tactics for doing that is using people's names. Yeah. And like you're saying, if you do a little video, it's one thing to have a generic video, but if I can, even do the Michael Kerr, and I customize it.
What is this again?
I was trying to I was trying to make it sound like it was
I'd be a little worried
video,
now about working with
generic video with a superimposed picture. I'm going, when people appreciate that an effort's been done, even if it's cheesy, it makes a big difference. Again, I'll explain a quick little FedEx story. So every time it's one of my drivers' birthdays, I make it an effort to show up in person with a handwritten card and a $50 gift card. And so the first time when I first taken over, Peter was one of my first hires, was his birthday. And again, this is my sense of humor. It's who I am. It's not about being fake or hitting a checkbox as, oh, Michael said I should do this, so I'll do it. No, it's about being authentically who you are. And if it doesn't fit, don't do it. Anyways, I showed up. It's Peter's birthday. Peter doesn't know I know it's his birthday. So being who I am, I said, hey, Peter, oh man, God, I bumped into you. I hate to do this to you last minute, but I need you to work late tonight. And he looks at me, his face drops. He goes, are you kidding me? I was like, yeah, I'm just messing with you. Happy birthday. And I gave him the card. And he was like, oh man. Anyways, half an hour later, he texts me saying, wow, I've never had a boss recognize my birthday. You guys are great to work for. But again, it's not about the $50. It's not even about the handwritten note. It's the effort and the personalization. And that they know that now they know they kind of look for me on their birthday and they're looking for it. But the point is that by recognizing and making people feel welcome, and I'll say this year, if I asked Peter to work late on his birthday, he'd probably be willing to do it. And I want to point out, I'm not giving him the card because I want him to work late. I'm giving him the card because I truly have a sense of gratitude because he's a great member of the team. And without him, we are weaker.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago when we were talking about compassion, right? You're doing it for the right reason, not for some strategic hidden agenda motive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other than when I'm nice to you, because I have to.
Yeah, I know.
My parole
I
officer's gotta
figured
have
that out years ago, Sanjay.
Yeah.
What does Sanjay want? He just complimented me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're missing lots in the chats.
I know. I'm trying to read, but you keep talking too much. Are we doing this again?
What? It's a good strategy to stall for time if you're stumped a question in a meeting. Just pretend your tech froze.
Just so you know, I have to tell you, I was reading a website on life hacks because of this whole stare at the camera thing, pretend your computer froze. It said, you know, if you're in a really annoying call or you want to hang up on someone, you don't want to hang up because then it says call ended. But if you flip your phone to airplane mode, it'll say call failed. So it's way more legit. So there's a life hack for you. When you go to someone, flip it to airplane mode, don't hang up on them.
Oh, nice.
If you notice, a lot of our calls fail, eh, Mike?
Yes, I noticed that. That's so weird. Oh my God. Linda, I love that. I tell folks onboarding starts with the interview. Totally agree.
Yeah, I said we designed an orientation program similar to Disney that 100% employee led. We had leadership in the room to keep track of, to answer the questions that came, but the hourly employees did it all. Love it. Meet them at the front door, introduce culture policy. Yeah, I mean, Linda, there's not a better way to embed, etch, carve into the brain the culture, because they are actually forming it, and by empowering people, they have an ownership in it. And if it sucks, they have the ability to change it, and they're not going to complain, going, "Well, it sucks. They did this. They didn't do this." Do it.
And it goes back. It speaks to that whole idea of there's nothing more. There's no more effective way of learning something than actually training people on that topic, right? So you're killing so many birds with one.
Like
initiative.
Colonel Sanders would be happy.
He would be so happy when you'd kill so many birds. It would be just amazing. And here's the other thought too on this that just ties to an article I read last week. I think it was a Harvard Business article that talked about the difference between deep fun at work and shallow fun. And shallow fun, still important, but shallow fun is just the goofy kind of stuff that we do like that. The fun little hijinks that you might do throughout the day, maybe some of the fun, goofy traditions you do, just the little hits that you do to bring a little fun and humor to work. The deep fun, they were talking about how that's where people are having just a blast on their job, feeling that intrinsic motivation, in that feeling of flow, because they're working on projects that excite them, that give them a sense of purpose, that fuel their passion, that allow them to be creative and use their creativity. So one of the examples they talked about was, hey, when you involve your employees in organizing, creating your onboarding process, in creating your culture boot camp. Some companies, more and more companies, have invested a week now for their onboarding because it's such an important investment, right? But when you involve your employees in that whole process, that's a great definition of deep fun.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I think that you can only get the deep fun when you have those deep connections, right? You have to have the inner group, right? If you look at the out group, the out group can be very superficial. You go watch a comedy show, you laugh, ha ha ha, but it goes so much deeper when it's your people, it's your tribe, and when you truly feel that, that's when you get that. And by the way, sometimes the deep fun can come from the deepest challenges. It's the deep fun can come from, remember that one year, that tax season, we were here till 4 a.m., blah, blah, blah. And although it's stressful in the moment at the time, if it's handled well, the reflection back on it was, look at what we accomplished. That was amazing.
It becomes one of those epic stories, right? One of those heroic stories that everybody talks about.
Yeah. And Stephen's mentioning too, just even something as simple as having a sign that says, welcome to Michael Kerr. Actually, I noticed a lot of times when Michael Kerr goes places, it says, thank you for leaving, Michael Kerr. I don't know if it's quite the same thing, but the employees cheer. I think that's the important.
I feel like that's the opposite, Sanjay. It's very hurtful, but I'm used to it. But yeah, for sure, having a walk. My God, yeah, absolutely. Having it makes a huge difference, right? Puts a smile on people's face. You feel like I belong here, and I'm recognized. I'm seen, right?
Nice. So yeah, Carol saying we had Friday 4 o'clock funnies when the newer employees were supposed to stand up in front of everyone as they were working in their cubicles and told 3 jokes. Nice.
Oh, love that. Oh, Carol, you remind me of one thing. I can't remember the company's name, but they do this great idea, I think, where all their new hires, they interview them, they ask them, and they mix up the questions. They ask different, you know, what album would you have on a desert island? What would your last meal request be? All these different trivia kind of questions related to them about their personal life. So they have them on file. Now they challenge all of their employees, because they have a group team meeting every Friday afternoon to celebrate their week, to celebrate their success. They do a trivia contest about the new hires. So existing employees have a chance to win prizes depending on how much in that week they learned about the new employees that are working there. And it's just a great, fun, creative way to make sure everybody's interacting with the new hires.
And again, I love that, because for the people that are competitive buggers, it itches that. And again, it's forced voluntary interaction, right? It's not really it's easy to opt out. I'm a big believer of that. I'm a big believer of, you have to earn your right to risk when you're interacting with people. And I'm going to approach this from a speaking standpoint. If you've ever had a speaker, and this drives me nuts, I have no problem with interacting with an audience, but when people overstep their bounds. So a speaker is invited or introduced, and they walk on the stage and they say something like, "All right, everyone on your chairs and dance." And, you know, people do it, but it's awkward. And it's like, I don't want to dance. And they
if they say it like that, yeah, that would be really annoying.
Well, there you go. But no, but what I'm saying is, by the end of your program, hopefully you have, hopefully you have enough, what's the word I'm looking for? Relationship equity, that you've evolved to that. So I think it's one thing to ask people to, you know, to sing and dance is one thing, but if you ask them to clap, that's way lower risk. And after they clap, you can clap and yell out your favorite swear word. What, you know what I'm saying, is you can elevate so that eventually you can get them to sing and dance. So what I love about what that idea that you were saying there was, if you like, it was mentioned in the chat about, you know, making them tell jokes, and that someone wrote almost immediately, that would stress me out.
Yes.
So there's a great example, but I mean,
like
that although that's meant to have people interact, it could be a high stressor for some people.
Yeah.
Whereas what you're saying there, if someone wants to opt in and be competitive, they're going to be taking notes and answering all the questions. But if someone just wants to be a passive watcher, they can sit back and laugh. And that to me is a sign of a really clever activity, so that people want to get involved can escalate to the point of their ridiculousness, and people who want to just be passive watchers, it's still entertaining for them, and it still brings the group together.
Right. And it's safe for the new employees, right? They're not being put on the spot. They're just answering a few fun questions about themselves, and makes it a safe way. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, right? Creating psychological safety for people to have fun, and also earning trust, right? So back to your story about the speakers saying, "Everybody on their feet to dance." That was my impersonation.
That was my impression of you. Yeah, that was your impression of me impersonating you. That's brilliant.
Yeah. It's one thing. It's even more annoying to do that at the very beginning of a talk, I would suggest, than doing it, 45 minutes into a talk where you've earned the trust from the audience.
Were you not listening to what I said? That's exactly what I said.
Did you say that?
You're introduced to
the relationship equity or something you babbled about.
Wow.
I kind of tune out when you start speaking.
Can we get a guest host? Can we do this partway through?
Two guest hosts?
Is anyone willing to step up? Geez, and by the way, it went to hell, our plan of doing half of this and then half.
I know.
Potpourri.
Well, maybe this topic seemed to be of interest to people.
Maybe it is.
Maybe. I hope it is.
Yeah. Where's Richard to keep us guys on track?
What is he like the dad? Is he like the dad?
Exactly. Actually, he may be the dad, but clearly I'm the most mature of the group.
Yeah, and Carol, I agree with your motto. You have to have fun at work, right? I like, we had the CEO of Argus Industry on last year, I guess, and they have this wonderful mantra that work is hard enough as it is without making it any harder. And they use that mantra as a reminder to enjoy the journey and have fun.
Is the mantra similar to a mantra, or like
mantra?
Mantra.
That's how we pronounce it in Western Canada.
In Canmore.
In Canmore specifically.
Canmore.
Mantra.
Mantra.
Hey, Canmore, perfect place for a motivational speaker. Hey, it's not Cantmore. It's not Can Less. It's Canmore. Think about that. Mantra, tomato. So what other any other thoughts? Do we want to leave time for? Well, we don't have any time. We could take one just.
Yeah, people haven't. And in fact, we like to tap into the brainchild of the group. If there is a challenge right now that you're having, an organizational culture issue, challenge, question you have, and you want to put into the engine here, we'll happy to sprinkle our thoughts and hopefully hear from the viewing population as well.
We'll solve the challenge you've been wrestling with for 10 years in your company in the 4 minutes we have remaining.
No, don't be silly. We have 6 minutes.
Okay, no questions.
No.
We love our long A's in Alberta, right?
Alberta. How can you call it Alberta? If you like your long A's.
Alberta. It's oh my God, it's snowing out now.
Go get the shovel.
Yeah.
How do you motivate Molly-made people to work full time? My question would be, what's their top value? And and this is I'm answering this generically, but we by default tend to think that money is the big motivator.
Right.
And the reason it's a good default because money is very transferable, right? If I happen to like cheese and Michael happens to like loud, obnoxious shirts, right? If we get money, we can both get what it is we want. So if people aren't working full time, you have to understand the precursor to why they're not. And here we go. My son has 2 franchises and he's struggling. He pays $28.50 an hour plus bonus. So it's not money. If they're paying $28.50 an hour, it's not money. So it's got to be around the cultural thing. So it's a matter of, can they choose their hours? Can you do it this way? If you go after a particular target demographic, for example, the stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads who have to be there to drop their child off for 8:30, but pick them up by 3:30, can you then offer a day where you start work at 9:30 and you're done by 1:30 to pick up your kid?
Yeah.
You get 2 houses done in that 4 hour or whatever it is. So rather than fight and look at trying to up the compensation from a monetary standpoint, let's look at what else is important to them. Because again, $28.50 plus an hourly bonus, I mean, that's good money. It's the idea of something else is holding them back.
Yeah. And finding out what that something else is, right? Having those conversations. Not everybody wants to work full time.
Yep.
And that's fine. And I would also, I guess my curiosity would also ask, and I know obviously there are some challenges with having more part-time employees than you wish. However, can you structure a company effectively still with the bulk of your employees part-time and not let it be an issue if that's the way it has to kind of shake out? But again, yeah, back to your point, Sanjay, it's cultural stuff. It's finding out those different triggers. Totally what you said, I'm on board with. See what I did there? Making sure people have the flexibility, that they have that sense of ownership, all those basics we go back to time and time again that we know drive engagement so much. Do they feel valued? Do they feel valued at a personal level?
And again, start questioning, why is it like, and even ask those people that are part-time, what would it take? Maybe it's a transportation issue. Maybe you can offer to go pick them up. Like, there could be other things going on there that you're not necessarily aware of.
Yeah.
But, and I also question that is, why do they need to be full-time rather than part-time? Sort of to piggyback on Mike's point, is it because you need more hours, or for some reason you actually need them to be full-time? Is there some sort of a tax benefit, or is there an incentive program that allows them to compensate for the salary? So if it's just simply hours, so if you need people to work 100 hours, whether you have 1 employee working 100 hours or 10 employees working 10 hours, if you're indifferent to that, that allows you to structure things a little more differently. Because maybe now, again, full-time means you do 7 days a week, 6 hours a day, instead of 5 days a week, 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff.
I love that, Sanjay. And I love Linda's, team cleaning approach. That's the kind of creative things, you have to start to think about, right? How can you make this work? And just asking the question point blank, what would it take for you to work full time? What's either lacking or what needs to change in order for you to work full time? And it would be an interesting exercise to do regardless, because I'm sure a person in that situation would learn a lot about what's on their employees' minds, right? And maybe for some employees, it's a hard job cleaning. It is a hard physical job. It is hard on the body. And so, for some folks, that could be it. No, I am done after 4 hours. Like the thought of working a longer shift,
Yeah,
just
and
can't do it.
to Nancy's point, do you really want to clean 8 hours a day? No, I don't want to clean 8 hours a year, but it needs to be done. And you know what, though, again, that's our value. I know people who actually love cleaning, like legitimately, they take pride and satisfaction in that work.
Yeah.
So for me, and apparently for Nancy, to clean for 8 hours is a very stressful idea. The notion is like, ugh. But I can think of, I used to have a cleaner that worked for us, and she legitimately loved cleaning. It was pride. And she would walk in the house and she'd be like, yeah, I did this.
Yeah.
Those are the people you want. And that's what culture fit is all about.
Yeah.
Finding people who are passionate and excited about doing what it is they do.
And it goes back to a story I know we've told a couple times here. I know I have, but Amy Wrzesniewski, the Yale professor who talks about people finding meaning in their jobs and the importance of that. And one of her landmark studies of cleaners in hospitals in the Midwest states, and how, and this is what we always have to remember, right? Same hospital, same culture, same level of pay, same duties. And yet one end of the spectrum, these cleaners, when asked about their jobs, they're not very engaged, they're stressed. They say anybody can do it, it's a boring job, blah, blah, blah. And they read off their job description. Other end of the spectrum, same hospital, same culture, same level of pay, same duties, way more engaged. And it's all just because of how they think about their jobs and how they've connected their jobs to a greater sense of purpose. So they talk about the pride they take. They talk about how important cleanliness is in hospitals, how it saves lives. They talk about how rewarding it is to interact with the long-term patients that they meet and do small things for them when they have the time. So that goes back to that very fundamental notion of, is there some simple ways that we can connect people to a greater sense of meaning?
And the more we can showcase that and articulate it, and by mentioning it, going, hey, this is what our people feel, this is the pride we have. So then you people kind of keep hearing that messaging, and they kind of go like, I want that pride, I want in. I'm looking at the time. You talk.
Are you? I'm looking at the time too. It's time. Wait.
To mention.
That's
Wow.
the buzzer.
Wow, that was it. That was
it.
the Toronto Maple Leafs heard that a lot last night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What happened there?
Come on, stop. Move on. Well, thank you, folks. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you found this valuable. We appreciate the input. We appreciate you coming. We would even appreciate more if you bring your friends, viewing parties. Woot, woot.
You are our best recruiters.
Yes, this is what I.
So please be ambassadors for Every Other Wednesday. Thank you for the brilliant comments and ideas that you shared so openly in the chat box. That's always so fabulous. So appreciated. Sanjay, tell them when we'll be back.
May 3rd.
May 3rd. That's right.
May 3rd. I think everything done in TH is way simpler. 1st, 2nd, 3rd. May 3rd, we will be back, because that is an Every Other Wednesday from here, 14 days. I would give you the topic, but we don't know it yet.
We don't know
So,
it yet. And I'm going to be in Winnipeg. I'm not sure if I'll be able to be there.
you know what? I'm going to be at Great Wolf Lodge with my
Oh.
kids. So I don't think I'll be here either. So again, thank you, folks. We will see you next time on Every Other Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you all.
Cheers. Let's stare until we turn this thing on.
Wait, I have to find the button.